welcome. This is my first Facebook Live, so I hope that everything is working. I don't see any comment place for me to view comments, so I don't know if anybody is out there watching, but I hope you are, and welcome. I don't know if anyone has read the blog post that led to this Facebook Live today, but I will post that probably with the video. And I, so sorry. I did a group meditation on Thursday, May 1st. No, Wednesday. And we tuned into our head, to our heart, and to our womb. And as I was kind of writing, because I wanted to capture some things around that, I started thinking about a few things. And there was a theme that was coming up around liminal space. And this was a new word for a concept that I've had for a while, that I've been using with clients. And it's this idea that there's a sacred space. It was explained to me by a friend of mine, Brenda, a while ago, many years ago, as the space between the trapeze bars. And so when you are a trapeze artist, you have to let go of that trapeze bar and fly through space. And as she explained it to me, you can't even reach for the person who's supposed to catch you. You have to wait for them to reach you. And it's just such a crazy thing to think about, right? Like you let go and you're flying through space and you trust that someone's going to be there to catch you. Now, I haven't been able to independently verify that this is true, but I think the concept is still the same. And so the theme this week for the meditations by Father Richard Rohr of the Center for Action and Contemplation was the theme of liminal space. And the way he explained it is liminal space is the betwixt, the between, the betwixt and the between, where you've left one stage and you haven't yet arrived at a new stage. So often this happens to us. It happens to us. We lose a job, we lose a friend or a family member to death, or we lose a relationship, or actually, it can happen for a good reason too. Like you're going to get married or you're having a baby, and there's a time and there's a process of planning and growing, and then your life has changed, and you've left. Like if you get pregnant, you're not pregnant anymore, but you also don't have a baby. So pregnancy in and of itself is this liminal space, and Father Richard's. His point was that this entire world has been thrown into liminal space together collectively through the pandemic. And it went along so well with what my head was telling me when I tuned in during this group meditation, um, which was uncertainty. That was the first word that came up, was uncertainty. And how much uncertainty we have been thrust into together. Life is not as we knew it. Life is not as we even thought about it. A few weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, the beginning of the year, January or in February, when I wrote this other blog post that I reference, on February 2nd, Groundhog's Day, it's the midpoint of the winter solstice and the spring equinox, and just looking forward to spring, and let's take stock of where we are and where are we going, what are our goals, what are we doing, how much, what are we looking forward to, what do we need to continue to refine to be ready for spring and to plant these new seeds of new life. And here we are, May Day, May 1st, which is the midpoint between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. And here we are in a place that we could at least I couldn't have possibly imagined uh, the beginning of February. So, um, so this whole concept of liminal space and uncertainty and what we're living through, um, which no one alive really, unless they're 110, has any memory of living through a time like this. So during the meditation, just to go back to that, as we tuned into our heart space and then into our womb space, the messages that I received from my heart was steady, steady as she goes. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in um, don't get caught up in the craziness and the upheaval and the back and forth, and don't get tossed around as if you're a wave. And so yeah, just don't get thrown around. And then as I tuned into my womb, it was the only way through is through. The only way out is through. You can't stop in the middle. And so as I wrote this and I thought about this, I really started feeling like I wanted to gather in community and to think about the future. Because we can get so caught up in the uncertainty of today and our day-to-day life and where are we going to be and the anxiety and the fear, and how do we get beyond that, right? And the ways we get beyond that are by grounding, properly grounding, and by tuning into that expansive energy of possibility and what can be there. And if we don't dream, if we don't vision, even in the midst of this uncertainty, and I would say even more importantly, in the midst of a time like this, if we don't take the time and the space to dream about the possibilities and open ourselves to that expansive energy, then we can't necessarily manifest it, right? If we have an idea of where we'd like to go and what we would like to do and the world we would like to live in, and maybe the things that we have left behind in this pandemic out of necessity, but maybe, if we don't think about this with intention about what we want life to look like afterwards and what we want to take back or take up with us or take into the future with us, then we can just get stuck in the middle of all of this. And when we come out the other end, we're just throwing up our hands and we're like, oh my God, what do we do now? Whereas if we can take just a little bit of time and space to dream and vision, then we're more likely to arrive, maybe not knowing any more than we know right now, because we really can't imagine maybe what kind of world it will be when we're through this. But what we can do is maybe come through it with a little bit more steadiness and a little bit more heart and groundedness and support. And so I love to do that in community. We're not going through this alone. It's kind of a silly slogan, home alone together, but it's true. Every single person in this world is being affected by the pandemic and by the decisions that are being made by us and on our behalf at this point in time. So welcome again to whoever is out there. I will learn how to use this a little bit better, so hopefully the comments are on next time. So as I finish this blog post, though, what also came through to me was a reminder of having the time and the space to be able to do this and to take a few minutes out of my day. um, I'm coming at this from a place of privilege, actually, and a lot of privilege. I'm safe. My family is safe. I can stay home. I have food. Um, yeah, I'm not living in the slums of Nairobi. I'm not living in India. I am not a migrant worker being required to show up to work in what may be unsafe working conditions. I don't have to make the decision to um, lose my job, maybe lose my house because I'm afraid, and I'm afraid for my family. So I just want to take a minute. I have some friends who have lost people in their lives the last few weeks. One from the virus, and a couple of others from some just regular life events. And so I do just want to take a minute, put my feet flat on the floor, and just tune in for a minute. Take some nice deep breaths and arrive into this more meditative and calmer space that I would like to enter into personally. And I would just like to acknowledge those people, first of all, who have been most deeply affected by this pandemic, those souls who have transitioned, those souls who have lost their lives. And their family and friends, the people who love them, those who are grieving. And then I would like to take a couple of minutes, and I would like to send some heartfelt and grateful thanks to, most importantly, the healthcare workers, the people that are on the front lines, the ones with heartbreaking stories of caring for those who are most deeply affected. All those that are on the front lines as essential workers, those who are going to work in essential services. If I list them all, I'll forget them, so I'm just going to leave it very broad and open and say thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being there. Thank you for doing your best. Yeah, a couple of nice deep breaths. So that's what's led me here today. Um, that's sort of the past, I guess, that brought me to where I am right this minute. This beautiful, actually beautiful Sunday afternoon here. We've been planting our garden with hope and expectation. I think that's a great metaphor for today, because that's kind of what we're all doing. Spring is springing, and we're all planting our gardens of hope and expectation for the future, I hope, today. So it was kind of interesting. I learned a little bit about May Day and Beltane, which is a Celtic festival of life and celebration. Again, in the agrarian societies, they would mark the seasons, and so this is a good time for planting. And then I was thinking about doing this today, and I thought it was Mother's Day. I got a little confused about the dates, and then I looked it up because some friends of mine said, "No, you're wrong," and I was like, but I still felt like today was the right day to do this. And when I woke up this morning and went to church online on YouTube, like I've been doing for several weeks, I realized that in my personal spiritual practice, the Christian Episcopal Church, it is Good Shepherd Sunday. And many years ago, I came to the realization that for me, it makes so much sense that Christ is the manifestation, and even though he was born into a masculine body, um, that he is actually the manifestation of the divine feminine of the Trinity. And I actually wrote a blog post about this a long time ago, which I will also post in the comments if you'd like to read my theory and my reasons behind this. Um, but as I was thinking about today, for a few years we've been talking in my group of wise women, as I refer to them, how the divine feminine appears to be rising in our world, and um, and coming into her own, tired of the way the human feminine has been treated, and over a long time, and that this beautiful, powerful force and completeness of the divine feminine is beginning to change things in the world. And there's a number of examples of this. But what the point I want to make is, the divine masculine is more of the yang and creative and active energy, and the divine feminine is the receptive um, energy. And masculine energy and the yang energy is more about our individualism in this lifetime, and our personal passions, and um, our personal paths, and what we're here to do. And the divine feminine, the yin energy, is the receptive, and it's the connection and to everything. It's the non-individual. It's the understanding that we are connected to absolutely everything of creation, from the stars to the magma of the earth. And so this is all sort of swirling in my head, right? Or what are we birthing? What are we bringing? What are we going through? What awaits us on the other side? And as Christ is the heart energy, most associated with the heart chakra, and this connectedness and the womb, there's a connection there, obviously, and birth and rebirth, and it's still the season of Easter in the liturgical churches, and new life and spring. It's all intertwined, right? And so what makes the most sense to me today, with all of that history and all of that thinking and intertwinedness, is to do some dreaming together, and to do that through the experience of our heart, um, and to just delve into that a little bit. There are many, many things that we can do on our own. Actually, I mean, even tuning into this energy we can do on our own, but there are many steps we can take into thinking about goals, whether they're vision boards or dancing or art or making lists, or whatever it is that helps you set kind of personal goals. This is an opportunity to be together and and to tune in and to see if yeah, to see what shows up really for all of us if we tune into this heart energy together with the intent of manifesting new life and what that world looks like for all of us. So, what I would like to do now is what I'd really like to do is figure out how um, to find and set just, I'm gonna try that. Nope. Okay, I was hoping I could quickly figure out how to view any comments that are happening, but I can't. So we'll just pick that up afterwards, and little learning needs to take place. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to set the timer on my phone for about 15 minutes. And then I am going to go into my own heart space. I am going to, I think I'm going to make it 10 minutes instead of 15. Yep, that feels a little bit better. And sit in silence. And, you're welcome to put your hand over your heart if that helps you kind of tune into that space. Take a minute or two, look around. I didn't prepare anyone for this. So maybe there's something that you want to bring into the space with you now for this kind of quiet time and tuning in. And so I'm going to start my timer for 10 minutes, and we're just going to spend 10 minutes in silence together, and then we'll go from there. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. So I'm going to share what I experienced on my end and invite anyone to share as well, if possible. Watching live. So um, when I first tuned into my heart, I got the vision of a small little seed, and holding that seed and nurturing that seed. It grew into a plant, and eventually, it grew large and strong with its own roots. And I really got the message that, you know, the way through this is by caring tenderly for ourselves, as if each one of us is a plant, and that is a primary, it's a primary need for each one of us. I tell clients all the time, you cannot take care of anyone else unless you take care of yourself first. It also goes along, of course, with the Good Shepherd, Good Shepherd Sunday. Christ is the Good Shepherd. He knows each and every sheep by name, and he loves all of them, and he cares for all of them, and will carry them if they need to be carried. And so just thinking about all those little seeds we planted today, and the tender plants that we started a few weeks ago inside that are coming up, and tending to them, that we need to do the same for ourselves personally, and then that grows. That grows by tending to all those that we come in contact with, whether it's the cashier at the grocery store, that we stay 6 feet away from, because we don't want to endanger them. We wear our masks. It's required where I live. Right? It's by tending each and every one of those that we come in contact with each other. And from there, we can reach out to the entire garden, right? Because the entire garden just has all the different plants in it, and the different flowers, and the diversity, and the beauty. And that's how we, piece by piece, small part by small part, we manifest this beautiful new world. In whatever way we can, with the vision of what's important, and what our priorities are in caring for each other. And, and that these communities right now are so important. There are a lot of groups forming. There are a lot of groups that have formed, and people looking for connection and support and love. And, if you haven't found one, and you can't seem to find one, found your own. Find someone who you really connect with, who you really feel can support you, and tenderly care for you as you're tenderly caring for them. And then the vision expanded to, to the earth, Mother Earth, Father Sky, brother, sister, moon, and stars, and birds, and just the whole interconnectedness of everything, and how, my little garden, yes, I planted seeds in it, and I will water it, and I can do my best to tend it, but, without the sun shining on it, it's not going to grow. And so, we can do what we can do, and then we kind of have to depend a little bit on what's outside of us as well, and that balance, right? That balance. So that was what came through to me. I'm gonna give a minute or two, if you're on the call with me, to share with me what you envisioned. And while you do that, I'm actually going to look up something I would like to share for a minute. So a friend of mine could not be with us today live, But she did send me a little personal note um, about what she would like to see in the future. And the reason I want to share this is because it made me laugh and smile. Um, and it's the small things. Like sometimes I feel like I get my head caught up in the big things, like I need to solve world poverty and world hunger, and that's what I'm going to do in my life. And if I don't do it, then there's some self-recrimination. But anyway, again, this is just a great reminder that sometimes it's the small things that bring us joy, and those are important too. So this is what my friend Devorah wrote me. So instead of the ice cream truck riding by playing horrible music, I want the music truck to drive by really slowly so I can run outside and dance in the street with all my neighbors. I want them to play Enrique Iglesias, Bailando, and of and view. I want my whole set list. I'll give you that, my entire set list. Isn't that a beautiful, visual that the music truck drives by playing our set lists and we run into the streets dancing together? That sounds really wonderful right now, right? So I'm just going to gather for a minute, whether you're here live with me or whether people are going to watch. I hope they'll watch the replay, the video, and be able to share them. And so I'm going to just gather all of that together, all of the visions, all of the beauty, all of the dreaming that we've done together today and that we may do together in the future. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my singing bowl, and I'm just going to tap it 3 times because I want to send that out into the world and beyond what we're going to gather and share together. So the comments are working. So I see that one of my biggest supporters has shown up, like he always does for me. My husband has written that he sees a big ocean spread before him, waves rising and falling. Somewhere ahead, behind the horizon, is a new place, a new adventure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. And stay safe, stay well, and stay in touch. Thank you.